I've shot over 3,000 videos about board games, and Neil Patrick Harris's Box One might be the most unique board game I've ever seen. Like, for real. Let's talk about it. Spoiler free!
What does that even mean, Bowers Game Club?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, a special solo review. And today I'm very excited to check out Box One, a game for one, created by one, from Neil Patrick Harris and Theory 11. So, before we get into this review, I want to mention this is a solo game, a one-player game, and that I believe for most people, once you've played this, you're pretty much just going to be done with the components and probably just throw them away. Yeah, I think you probably will. You could try to reassemble the game, but I don't know if it would particularly work that well. But anywho, that's what you need to know going into this. This is a game designed by Neil Patrick Harris that is all about pretty much being an escape room in a box where you are going to go on an adventure, and that's where I'll leave it. But let's talk about the pros, let's talk about the cons. So first on the con side, this game costs right now $30, and that's the big thing that I want to mention here, is that if you are an expert at escape rooms, if you do them as a hobby and you like to do puzzle games and all sorts of different things like that, then I think this might be a bit too easy for you. And I think you will feel that the value is not there for you potentially, but I don't know, because the experience lifts up a lot in this game, because it is an insanely unique experience. I will say I've played thousands of board games. I've reviewed like 1,200, and this is unlike anything I've ever played. And that is a very glowing statement, because I will say that will lift this game up a good deal, as I'll tell you in the pros. So continuing on with the cons, this game has a helper app. And if you are newer to the genre, or if you're the dead weight when you do like an escape room or escape room style game, then you are probably going to need that help app a good deal. I know I used it an awful lot, but the con that I'm getting to here is that I wish it was even better, because there were still some points that I got to in the game where I was like, I don't know what to do. Am I going to give up? And the answer was no, I never give up. I go watch this teenager who shot a gameplay video and they figured out what to do, and I went from there. But I had to do that. And that's not something that you should have to do. But there are some other games that have had that issue. What is it? The Adventure Time adventure games from Cosmos series. It's a really awesome series where you go on this adventure, but you have to solve sort of puzzles and things. And sometimes I'll just get completely stuck. And that happened in here, I think, once or twice, and that might just be because I'm dumb. Like, you might not have that issue at all. But if you are worried that you might have that issue, you do need to know that going into it. And that brings me to my next point, which is one player versus two player. And I think that you can get a lot of enjoyment out of this as a two-player game if you are not the best at these style games. Like, I really wish I would have played this with my wife, because I think she would have got a kick out of it. And neither of us are very good at these style games. But if you combine our brains together, I think it would become a perfect date night experience. And that is why this review is very interesting to do. Because as a date night experience, I say, okay, you plan on playing this as a date night or with a friend or something like that. At that point, it's $30 for two people to get the enjoyment out of it. And I think it's a much more reasonable pill to swallow. Because the next con that I have with this game is that it's pretty short. And they do something in the game to artificially pad the length of the game. I'll say no more for spoiler purposes. But if you played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you're probably going to get, I don't know, maybe 2 hours out of this, potentially 3. I mean, it really depends on your skill level. Honestly, I think I saw somebody online say they did in like an hour and 20, an hour and 30 minutes. And that is where you really have to know your own skill level. If your skill level is high, then this is something that I would say, if $30 doesn't mean that much to you, try it out for the experience. But if $30 does mean something to you, then I don't know if I can really warrant this purchase. Any other cons I have for the game? I didn't like the third act of it, so to speak. Like, it was really interesting and fascinating, and then it gets to, like, this end part, and it kind of just feels a little bit like, oh, look how clever we are. And that's fine. I do like the look at how clever we are reveal moments, which if you played games like this, you're like, oh, they did the thing upside down where you have to have the mirror. That's so clever. Like, those moments. And there's some good ones in here. There's some good ones. They get me. They got me a couple times, and I really enjoyed that a lot. But the third act of it is kind of just like, do the same thing. Look how clever we are. Do the same thing. And I don't know. It just kind of it got to the third act and it underwhelmed me after the first and second act, which were quite honestly spectacular. And I think if you would have had less technical issues and less brain issues, I think it would be even better for other people. But let's get on to the pros. I'm kind of jumping all over the place on this. The pros on this is it's very unique. It's very different. As I said, out of the thousands of different board games that I've played, this is one of the most unique experiences I've ever had playing a board game. It combines different... you are going to have a phone, a tablet, or a computer in order to do this. You do need to have that guaranteed. And so you need to know that going in. And for some people, that will be a con. However, I think it enhances this game. And I love this slow marriage we're starting to get between board games and other various different digital medias, trying to combine them. And I feel like this one does a good job on it. I will say I think it would be a great job if I used it on my PC instead of on my computer. And that is one thing that I'd recommend to you, that if you're interested in this, do it on a computer. And you'll see why if you ever play it. But there you go. That is Box 1 from Neil Patrick Harris and Theory 11. A very interesting story. I wish it was longer. I wish it was a little bit more user-friendly when it came to the help menu. But overall, Box 1 from Neil Patrick Harris, I would say is a good game. And I think that good is the low part. Like, this has the potential to be, for some people, just spectacular, like mind-blowing. Like, this is the game that got me into hobby board games. This was the first board game I ever bought from Target, and wow, it completely wowed me to the fact that, well, there is so much more that could potentially be had in board games. And yes, Neil Patrick Harris apparently is a big magician, and there are some elements of this game that lean into magic a little bit, like magic tricks, and I love that. Like, that's so cool. And, yeah, so when I say 7 and giving it a good, honestly, I'd say that's the low end for most people. I think even if you thought it was too short and you thought it was undervalued, I don't think those people are still going to say they enjoyed the experience. So and that's my bottom line actually here. If $30 for this experience, be it about, going to see like an IMAX movie, I guess it's only like $20, whatever. If you can compare this to that, I think you're going to enjoy it. I don't know. It's a hard one to review. Box 1, very unique game with a very unique review. If you enjoy what I'm doing, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. Also, consider supporting the Patreon down below, as currently I'm out of a job and homeschooling my kids. And in the comments below, let me know what... if you've played Box 1, what do you think about what I've said in this review? That's what I'd really like to know. Please don't include any spoilers down below. But what did you think of my assessment of Box 1? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.